Going live.
For those of you already here,
We are going to play something for you as soon as Curtis gets it up.
Oh, wouldn't be the first time I had troubles. Nope, just kidding. Okay, guys. So we're going to just play a little snippet here of a recent controversial audio that's come out. And just want to kind of jumpstart our conversation for the day. So
Yep.
here it
So
goes.
go.
It's about 4 minutes or so.
Georgia, based on all of this, and there's nothing wrong with saying that, Brad. You know, I mean, having a correct. The people of Georgia are angry, and these numbers are going to be repeated on Monday night, along with others that we're going to have by that time, which are much more substantial even. And the people of Georgia are angry. The people of the country are angry, and there's nothing wrong with saying that. You know, that you've recalculated.
Well, Mr. President, the challenge that you have is the data you have is wrong.
Now, do you think it's possible that they shredded ballots in Fulton County? Because that's what the rumor is. And also that Dominion took out machines. That Dominion is really moving fast to get rid of their machinery. Do you know anything about that? Because that's illegal.
This is Ryan Germany. No, Dominion has not moved any machinery out of Fulton County. We're having.
Well, but have they moved? Have they moved the inner parts of the machines and replaced them with other parts?
They're in the machine.
No,
You sure, Brian?
I'm sure.
Flux capacity.
You should want to have an accurate election. And you're a Republican.
It's weird where the cuts
We
are.
believe that we do have an accurate election.
No, I know you don't. No, you don't. You don't have. Not even close. You're off by hundreds of thousands of votes. You know what they did, and you're not reporting it. That's a criminal offense. And you can't let that happen. That's a big risk to you and to Ryan, your lawyer. That's a big risk. But they are shredding ballots, in my opinion, based on what I've heard, and they are removing machinery, and they're moving it as fast as they can, both of which are criminal fines, and you can't let it happen, and you are letting it happen. I'm notifying you that you're letting it happen. So, look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state. So tell me, Brad, what are we going to do? We won the election, and it's not fair to take it away from us like this. And it's going to be very costly in many ways. And I think you have to say that you're going to re-examine it, and you can re-examine it, but re-examine it with people that want to find answers, not people that don't want to find answers. For instance, I'm hearing Ryan, and he's probably, I'm sure, a great lawyer and everything, but he's making statements about those ballots that he doesn't know. But he's making them with such, he did make them with surety, but now I think he's less sure, because the answer is they all went to Biden. And that alone wins us the election by a lot. So.
Mr. President, you have people that submit information, and we have our people that submit information, and then it comes before the court, and the court then has to make a determination. We have to stand by our numbers. We believe our numbers are right.
Well, under law, you're not allowed to give faulty election results, okay? You're not allowed to do that, and that's what you've done. This is a faulty election result. And honestly, this should go very fast. You should meet tomorrow, because you have a big election coming up, and because of what you've done to the president, the people of Georgia know that this was a scam. And because of what you've done to the president, a lot of people aren't going out to vote. And a lot of Republicans are going to vote negative because they hate what you did to the president. Okay? They hate it. And they're going to vote. And if you would be respected, if this thing could be straightened out before the election. You have a big election coming up on Tuesday.
Okay.
So
that was just a 4-minute and 30-second clip, essentially, of some of the kind of more.
Was that yours? Okay.
Yeah, sorry, that was one. Some of the more
That terrified me.
controversial statements, I guess you would say, but also I actually had seen several websites where there was different clips kind of cut out in different kind of parts, but I did listen to the actual audio that came out. It was an hour and
I think it's like an hour and 1 minute
10 or
hour
hour
and 10.
and minute.
Yeah,
something just over an hour.
And to be clear for the audience too, I haven't listened to that whole thing yet, but I read some of the transcripts of the spots that were kind of missing in between there.
Yeah, exactly. And so, to be honest, to be fair, like that's not the whole transcript. That's not the whole video at all. Obviously, it's missing about little, maybe close to an hour.
Yeah.
But within that clip, you hear essentially President Trump is actively campaigning for Georgia to admit that their elections were not valid, and the Georgia governor and many
Secretary
of the
of State.
Secretary of State and many of the legal representatives of the state are saying, sir, what you're saying and what your findings are not our findings and not the findings of the law enforcement that's actually participated in the research as well.
Right.
And I have, this brings up a whole world of controversy and discussion, this recent audio that came out.
I will say, I'm not going to say my opinion yet.
Yeah.
I wanted you to keep talking, but just so we don't get kicked off the YouTubes.
Oh yeah.
The
YouTubes.
We have to disclose
Yes.
that indeed safe harbor date is passed. The 14th, the electors were cast for Biden, and the Associated Press, in all of their great power, has said that they think that the president is going to be Biden.
That video came from the audio came from Washington Post, by the way. So you can watch the different video and the whole audio there, the hour long, if you want to also.
Right. So your thoughts.
but we'll have a link of it.
You can continue your thoughts.
So I'm not saying my opinion yet. I'm just saying my thoughts.
Yeah.
So some of the thoughts are any audio, any type of conversation can be construed in a negative light or a positive light. It can be twisted based on whatever your preference is.
Yeah.
Okay. I would say that the audio, there are several interesting points that Trump brings up as far as his concerns about the legitimacy of the election in Georgia.
Right.
And he has some points that he's conveying his concerns, but it's difficult when you're just hearing somebody talk back and forth and you don't see the evidence in front of you.
Yeah.
So that's difficult. And then when they themselves say, "Sir, actually that's not true. We actually have the evidence to the contrary of what you're saying." The thing that I think is a little bit disheartening and a little bit unfortunate is there are several times in the audio where Trump does say, "Hey, listen, I need you to find this specific number of votes for me.
Well,
and I need you to do that."
I'll speak to that without giving my opinion yet.
Yeah.
Is that's because legally, if you're to bring anything about elections across, you have to say it would sway the election. So he's just giving the exact number that would need to change the election. He's not saying that's all you need to. He's not saying like go find those so I win. I mean, it sounds like that's what he's saying, but legally that's how they would argue it. So
But it's not his.
He's kind of puppeting
I get what
his
you're saying,
lawyer.
but it's more the whole entire conversation. Essentially, the purpose of his. You got to look at what's the end goal. The end goal, as he said specifically, it's one more than whatever that it was 100. However many thousand votes.
Well, but he also
14,000,
states that he believes it's a fraudulent election. So he's not if you listen to other things he said, and that's where like people have cut him off. In the past, he said we won Georgia by a ton more than what's it saying.
Yeah.
If he's just saying Georgia's faulty, I need at least one more vote than this so it gets overturned. They will if somehow he comes out on top through all of this, through months of craziness, I think that they'll pursue it to try and find exactly what went wrong.
I think that there's areas, as a president, I guess, it seems like asking a governor to find votes.
Well, that's not the governor.
Well, or
that's
sorry, I meant
Ratzenberger
to ask
and
not a governor, sorry, to ask a state to find votes when there weren't votes potentially
Yeah.
there is not a very good precedents to set for yourself because it potentially it puts you vulnerable for
It for sure does. It
attacks.
It's the way he's wording it, but it's how you argue an election. It's how everyone's argued an election since the beginning of our republic. That if you're to overturn a state, you have to show that you have precedents to overturn the election. That's why you don't do recounts when it's, a ton and there's no evidence of people coming forward. But you have to look at it. A lot of people that are hearing this, and this is what disheartens me a little bit without giving my opinion on it, is that there's a ton of people that have come forward and a ton of evidence that has come forward that hasn't been looked at. Like Rathsberger even in the clips that they have says, we found ours and it's to come to a court. Well, no court in Georgia has given it standing to even look at the evidence. So if they aren't going to look at the evidence, they can't say you have to go to the courts with the evidence. Does that make sense? If they want to make that argument, they need to, he says in some of the other parts of it, we need, then get us in front of the courts to show them the evidence to rule on it.
Yeah.
It'd be like a murder trial saying, well, he murdered him, but we're never going to let you show the evidence. We're like, well, then you can't convict him. You can't.
Right.
You have to have have discovery. And
you wouldn't go
and showing.
I think you wouldn't go to someone that's not inside the courts to make a decision that the courts need to make.
Well,
and that's what
these people have been working to block the courts from doing things. So Stacey Abrams, who was the lieutenant governor as well, I mean, it's her sister that ruled on something and overturned something and backflipped on her own decision because she should have recused herself because there's so much.
There's some conflict of interest there.
Some tons of conflict of interest.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, Trump's not I've always said Trump's not the most crazy good speaker. That's fine. I think he's made some good policy decisions, but he's not a lawyer.
It seems pretty darn well, but he has a bunch of lawyers kind of that are
yeah,
advising
but I mean
him
at this
well.
point, I mean he's coming down to these last days, if you want to say that. I mean, for those of you that are listening, we could go well past the 6th. We could go well past the 20th.
With the 6th coming up.
Yeah. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to make the 6th more clean. That's what he's doing. Because you got to remember, this came out before the Ted Cruz thing, which we can talk about in a bit.
Yeah.
So he's trying to tell them let's sort this out so the 6th goes
with
smooth.
The 6th though. Because what he also says, he knows that if this gets clarified, it will potentially help the Republican base potentially get votes, and they're hoping for, was it Purdue? Is Purdue the Georgia guy running?
Yeah. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on with that.
It's crazy.
They're pulling their Facebook ads, and they're putting up Warnock ads. They're pulling down the evidence that he hit his wife with a car.
Yeah.
But
then there's another lady too. Anyways, the Republican and Democrat, there's a really contentious race going on for Senate seats.
Runoff seat.
Runoff. Well,
because they already voted on him, but nobody got 50%, so now they have a runoff vote in Georgia, which a lot of these.
But it's not for senators, for House.
No, it's for Senate.
Well, they're senators, but it's for the House, isn't it?
It's for state senators.
Yeah, but senators go to the House. Those ones were for the House, right?
No, they go to the senators go to the Senate.
Were they for the Senate?
Yes.
I thought they were for the House.
No,
House representative.
It's Purdue. It's Purdue and Loeffler versus Warnock.
Okay.
And
if Purdue and the other person were to win the Senate races, would the Senate still have a Democratic majority?
Well, no, it wouldn't. It would be actually tied, and Pence would be the tiebreaker.
If so, that's where I'm saying Trump really wants potentially to show that there is fraudulent activity, so the Republican vote would then sway positive for Purdue and whatever.
It's not necessarily to sway positive for them, although he wants it to be. But there's so much negative and so much. It's not a fair fight. Like at this point, if anyone wants to make an argument for that, I don't care who you're voting for. You can vote for Chuck E. Cheese. That is not a fair battle, and it is totally dirty. And if it proves that the election was fraudulent and they need to go back and fix it, then they shouldn't be running the election the same way that they're running it now. And that's the argument.
Are they going to be running it off of the same machines?
Yes, exactly the same stuff. And so, and they had already pre-collected and were doing ballot harvesting, which is against their constitutional laws again. In this race, they had like 800,000 ballots already collected before they're supposed to be turned in, and that's against state constitution.
So were they doing mail-in ballots for this race?
They do some, and some are in person. But they're on those machines where you go in, you punch it on a screen, it prints out a thing, and it scans the code. The code can be anything it wants, and the printout can be anything it wants. That's exactly what the argument that has been brought.
I don't know
about
if they.
the
I wonder
Venezuela
if they would
machines.
have time to change the way they vote in that period of time.
Hand count. The end.
But
And
if
paper
they're
count.
sending, if
It
they're
doesn't matter what ballots they are. Hand
if they're
count the ballots.
sending in the ballots,
Mhm.
so they hand count them.
Just hand count the dots.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Why not?
Put it.
That
Put,
does-
put a
that-
re-
that
put a
seems pretty
Republican
basic.
and a Democrat next to
Yeah.
each other. Make them agree on it and hand count the ballots. Why
Yeah.
not? If you don't want to do that, you're either lazy or you're covering something up. I mean, it's true. Like, but that's how Canada does it. I mean, Canada is like the home of Dominion, right? They don't use any of those machines. They hand count everything.
True.
Why?
True.
I mean, that's kind of what I've resorted to with some of this stuff is like, maybe I don't have the answer, but I can ask the questions.
Okay.
Why
So-
doesn't Canada use the machines that are made in their country?
Real quick, a recap of January 6th.
Yeah.
Jessica's asking about that. What's the significance of
My
January
sister?
6th? Yeah. So January 6th is when the electoral votes come before the House and the Senate. Oh gosh, sorry guys, I'm dropping stuff.
You are-
Go for it, Jordan.
Okay. So January 6th is it's not in our Constitution. It is a date as to which the votes are brought in, no joke, by a leather box, and it is paraded through, I believe, past SCOTUS and then into a joint session, which means the House and the Senate meet together. And they are brought before the president of the Senate, which is the vice president, so Vice President Pence. And he is to count the votes. That is almost verbatim what the Constitution says. It says he shall count the votes. Now,
Getting all like New King James kind of
yeah.
style.
So, but the shall is an important legal speak in that
Ooh, go on.
he shall count the votes. So in that there's the tense that it's written in, and it has been argued this way. Probably like 6-8 different elections have been contested, and the president of the Senate has either thrown out or choose to select a different slate of electors. So we also have this thing called the Electoral Count Act, which if you go and read it, it actually contradicts the Constitution. It was put into place in 1887, and it has been set aside before. I believe it was, I can't remember who set it aside. I was listening to it today, but I don't have the details in front of me. They set that aside. And the Electoral Count Act says that Congress has the right to say whether or not the slates are to be counted or not be counted, and they would vote. So the Electoral Count Act would say if one senator, just one, it could be multiple, but if it has one senator and one House member objects to a slate of electors, or if you read the writing, if they could individually object to each individual elector, which would be like 87, you get 2 hours of debate per objection. So if you do the math, it's like 170 hours or something like that for each state. Because what you do is as soon as they do it, like Arizona will be the first one that pops up. And if they object, one House member, one Senate member object, they then break up and they go and they vote whether or not to reject that slate of electors or that elector after a 2-hour debate.
Is it Arizona actually the first one?
Yeah, I think so.
I thought it'd be. Is it alphabetical?
Yeah. Who would it be?
Would it
then?
be Alaska?
No. Of the objectable states.
Oh, okay.
So they're
I
not going
gotcha.
to object to all the states because
Right,
not
right.
all of them they don't have some of these irregularities. Now, you could make an argument that some of them had the same machine, some of them whatever, but there wasn't a margin of error that was great enough to have swayed it. And so that's where you have to go into this. People will make that argument and say, well, why aren't you contesting Alaska? It had some irregularities. Well, it
Yeah,
didn't
that's
have
a
enough.
good- that's a
It
good-
didn't have enough to sway the vote, which is what you have to have. That's that legalese speak. That's why Trump was making the argument for find me one more vote than what I lost by, because then it means that it matters to make this argument. He's just using the legal speak. It does sound weird, but he's just going off of what his lawyers have said. And again, he's not a lawyer. So when they go to do this, they vote on each either elector or slate of electors. Slate of elector would be like entire state. So Georgia would have 16. I think it's 11 or 10 for Arizona, 20 for Pennsylvania, 16 for Michigan. All these different states, New Mexico, Wisconsin, all these will be full on objected. And then they will have to vote. Now, this is where it gets kind of iffy. So
This is crazy.
so
actually.
so per the Constitution, it isn't really specified whether or not the House votes by by state delegates or by the amount of people. We think that what Pelosi will obviously want to do, because they control the House, is say it's per representative. But Pence could make that call, and he could say, no, it's by state delegate. If he does, then they're probably all going to vote to throw the state slate in the House. If there's a contest between the two, Pence decides, per the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
So that you just go through that process.
But if there's
with
not
each state.
if there's not a tie,
yeah.
right? If there's not a majority that agree, then essentially it gets cast out.
If they agree to, so they're voting to get rid of it, not voting to keep it, if that makes sense. So it's the opposite. So they have to agree to get rid of it. They don't agree to keep it. So they don't have to vote. It's different. So instead of voting to have something, you're voting to get rid of something.
But it takes a majority.
It takes a simple majority.
But
in the House, it's not really that clear if it's by state delegate or by House seat. It could be argued either way. By Senate, it's by Senate seat, which would be decided probably by Pence as the tiebreaker. He doesn't get a vote unless there's a tie, and that's
why this upcoming election on the 5th is so.
Yes, but they wouldn't be confirmed. That's the thing.
I think there was something that I was reading about that being
they would have to be
an expedited
they
confirmation.
Could, but Pence would have to make that decision because he's the president of the Senate.
Well, that's the thing, though.
Yeah.
So I think if it goes in their favor, he will do an expedited election. But if it goes against their favor, then I think he probably won't.
He may not, and someone could argue either direction on that. But
he'll just.
That's been
this would
done.
be interesting.
I mean,
what if a Democrat won and a Republican won, and he expedited only the Republican?
He probably
and not
wouldn't
the
do
Democrat?
either because it would just be a tie.
Yeah, I guess it would cancel out.
So
that's
so it would just be 6 of one, half dozen of the other. So
that's true.
But anyway, so that's what that comes down to. The ultimate thing that could happen, I'm like torn on depending on people that I listen to whether or not they think that it would be happening. But like reading about and listening to people that have talked to his team and everything, he came out with a statement yesterday that said it was a press release saying, "I'm welcoming any and all objections to the electoral count on the 6th." Pence said that.
And that was potentially 82, you said?
82?
Or how many objections did you say there would potentially be?
There's over 140 House members that are signed on to object and over 12 senators right now. I wouldn't...
Was there 12 senators?
Yeah. There was. They call them the Dirty Dozen. So I wouldn't doubt if there's over 20 senators, maybe more, just depends. And I wouldn't doubt if tomorrow morning we find out that there's over 200 House members. If that's the case, it's going to be a dirty 6th, and it's probably not going to be done then.
Right. So potentially it could go for 2
but
weeks.
There
of
is one thing that could happen. Don't think it will, but I'll just mention it for educational purposes. Is that Pence has given us, not just Pence, any vice president in this situation. So Biden had this opportunity as well, and I'm sure he would have done this if it was him in there trying to get a Democratic person in there. All these, there's a lot of people who are complaining, don't object, you're trying to hurt democracy, whatever. Well, we're in a republic where we have to consent to the governed. And so this is our process. This is the constitutional process, whether you like it or not. This is what it is, and it would be happening if it was on the other side. But the vice president, who is the president of the Senate, has a unique power, a unique plenary power, which means it's given to him by the Constitution in that moment. And it has been exercised before, and it has been decided pretty much. I mean, one of them even set the Electoral Act aside. And when I think it was Kennedy, he set it aside, and
so
he set aside the electoral count and changed electoral slates because they had sent in dueling electors.
Right. So what you're saying essentially is that Pence has the potential to choose which electoral slate is valid.
Now, right now, currently, the slates of electors that are for the GOP or the Republicans are not certified. So that's where we might see some senates are meeting on the 5th, and like Pennsylvania is, and they actually just changed that date. It was after they weren't going to be starting back up session until after the 6th, but now they're starting on the 5th, and they think that is to decertify the Biden electors and certify the GOP electors because they've asked for that by petition, and they've also sent a letter
Does
to.
that take like a court to make that decision?
No, it's so if it's Article 2, I think it's Article 2, Section 3, something whatever one in the Constitution says that the time and place and manner of elections shall be controlled by the legislature. And in these states, the thing that's consistent amongst, I mean, you leave out the machines, leave out the servers in Germany, leave out all this other stuff. I mean, maybe we'll get to that, but those are criminal cases that take years to build. You can't do that in 2 months. But if you just go look at the state constitution of Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada, and even New Mexico, okay, that's one that nobody talks about. So 7 states are going to be ejected on the 6th.
Potentially.
No, they will be. They're already signed on.
Potentially.
They have already signed on. They have written and said we are doing this.
We'll see.
So we'll see. But it's happening. So, but they all broke their own constitutional rules for law or for votes that their legislature put into place. So it wasn't until like the last 100 years that a lot of states even did what we consider a popular vote for the state to elect our electors, because that's what we do. We don't elect a president, we elect an elector. We elect technically we elect a slate of electors. You either elect a slate of Democratic electors or a slate of GOP electors, and they vote along the lines that they are given in most states. Obviously there's differences in everything. So what has happened is the GOP electors in these 7 states met, signed off saying we're voting for Donald Trump, and sent it off. It hasn't been certified by their legislature yet because they couldn't give him a session, because the governors have held back and said, we're not giving you a session. We're not giving you a session. They have the right to call a session anyway, but I think that a lot of them are like, this is something we've never seen done. It's nothing that we have done, but it's given to them plenary power, just like Pence has on the 6th. They could just meet outside of the Capitol and say, we're voting and we vote for this, and send that to actually certify those votes. And then when Pence opens it, he's got 2 certified from each of those contested states. And then it's, what does he do? He either puts it to a vote, or Pence goes, yeah, I got a letter from these guys saying there's fraud and they don't stand with it, and the GOP electors are the ones I'm accepting, and throws the ones to the side. And they could try to argue, but the 2 or 3 times that I've seen in history that that's happened, nobody's argued.
Interesting.
Because they can't constitutionally.
So potentially, guys,
it could be weird.
And Jordan, what you're alluding to is the potential fact that on January 6th, the electoral overall count could be considered in favor for Trump.
Yes.
And Trump could be then
reelected
on January 6th, essentially.
No.
So after January 6th, let's say if the electoral count gets thrown out enough to the point where Donald Trump has more electoral votes than Biden, then what are the steps that then would proclaim Trump has won that election?
So
over Biden?
A couple things could happen. If Pence just throws the slates out for those states, Donald Trump would win 232 to 222 or something like that, because the 270 no longer matters if those states, if Biden could essentially say a vote didn't happen here, because it says in the Constitution it's for him to count the votes. He could say, because these states broke their own constitutions, a vote never happened, and throw those slates out. And so then he would declare by the Constitution, Arizona sent no slate, Georgia sent no slate, Michigan sent no slate. And so
Pence would be saying that.
Pence would be saying that, and then it would push the majority down to smaller than 270, because those states don't count anymore. This happened when Abraham Lincoln got voted in, because the states that had seceded weren't in the majority, and it's because they didn't send any electors. And so he was elected by a smaller number than the electoral votes that would have been there if those states were part of the Union still, but they had seceded. And so he would win 232 to 222 or something like that. And even if that happens, the date that matters, the only date in the Constitution, the 6th is not in the Constitution. That's part of the Electoral Count Act. And that's what Cruz and a bunch of other people have signed on, saying, if you don't give us 10 days, so delay this by 10 days.
Right. Now, this is a new thing, right?
So, and this is why it matters. This is why the 6th can and can't matter, is that the Electoral Count Act says the 6th matters. But that's not in the Constitution. It actually contradicts the Constitution. So the only date that really matters before we get to the TED stuff is that the 20th at noon is when Donald J. Trump's presidency is expired. So it would be for any president. It's not because it's Donald J. Trump. It's anyone. It expires on that date. If there is not a selected president at that moment, it goes to as an acting president, which would be Pelosi at this point.
But what I was asking about though is if the electoral count, Pence somehow has the ability to throw out the electoral votes that he doesn't see valid in a
To be clear, I think that if it happens, it's going to be the House and the Senate that vote to do that.
Okay.
Not Pence. Pence can.
Pence potentially could.
I would be
But
shocked if he did, but he could.
If somehow the House and the Senate had a majority vote and then Pence was a tiebreaker or whatever, and the electoral vote somehow swung, changed, decreased from 270, and it went somehow in favor of Trump.
But to be super clear, right now, it's 0-0.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's the date that we count.
But I'm saying on that day, on June 6th, if somehow the count...
Somehow on the 6th, we find out that the Associated Press was wrong.
Right. Well...
I mean, we're being really honest.
If
like,
the
they
count,
don't know.
Yeah, because that's true. I mean, the media did essentially make the call. But that's kind of been our gauge for a long time as well.
It is, but it's a margin of error thing, though.
Yes, true.
So it's like... Hey,
but let's say
it's like calling the end of a basketball game when it's 100
points up. On January 6th, if the electoral vote somehow swings and Trump is somehow having a higher number at that time, is there any recourse for Biden after that point?
So they could contest it in Congress, but they don't really have any standing. In fact,
if they have a majority,
in fact, from what I've heard and read, and I could be completely wrong, but from the people that I've been trying to figure out from, the Supreme Court doesn't even have any standing. If they tried to come in and tried to rule on some of these things in Congress, Pence could really just turn back on them exactly what they've turned back on everyone this whole time and just say, I'm sorry, you have no standing here.
So
because it's not a judicial thing anymore.
But if it's a congressional thing and there's a vote and the Democrats have a majority, then would that be the recourse for Biden's campaign?
Potentially. Okay. Potentially. But if you read the Constitution, Pence does have the ultimate power in that moment. And it's not any state. So let's back up and think about this for a second, because people go, why in the world would you give the president of the Senate so much power? Well, it's not. It's 4 contested states. So he couldn't just say, I don't like Alaska and drop Alaska's votes. He has to have a reason. So he could say,
but what qualifies?
He could say, "I got a letter."
It as a contested state is if the
it's in litigation. They're all in litigation. They all have pending cases.
But what qualifies it as a contested state, though? Like for Pence to be able to throw it out.
Yeah. So all of these states have had a hearing. They've had Senate and House hearings where they've shown evidence of fraud.
Okay, so there has to be a Senate or House hearing.
Not necessarily, but it's mounting evidence. So like he's gotten. So a lot of these states, so Arizona, Pennsylvania, and I believe Georgia, I could be wrong there, have sent letters to Pence saying we don't agree with this, and they're not giving us a Senate session to revote, to decertify and recertify the ones we think are correct. And so and we are the legislators, and it is on us in the Constitution to make this decision, and not on our governor, and not on our Secretary of State, and not on our election boards. And they broke our rules.
It seems like maybe, and this is just, someone that knows nothing, and I'm an idiot with politics. I'll admit that, but it's still something I like to learn about.
Yeah.
It maybe seems like not the best decision to have the tiebreaker be on one political side. Like it seems like it would be a wiser decision to have not the vice president of a candidate be the one that decides whether electoral votes are valid or not.
It might seem that way, but it wouldn't ever get to this spot if there weren't a lot of things wrong. So if these states had not broken their own constitutional laws on voting, we probably wouldn't be here.
Or the question is, if a political party is so fervently desiring to stay in power, would they churn up enough false flags to put them in that position?
It would be a lot to churn this up. I mean, that's the thing.
But I guess that's a possibility.
In 7 different states, they have like well over 2,000 affidavits from people who are willing to go on the stand and potentially go to jail for it. And they have videos. They have forensic evidence of machines. They have the testimony of the people driving ballots across state lines. It's not like this stuff is not stuff you could just easily create at this point. Like it's they have people just coming out of the woodwork to talk about it. And that's never happened. You have to go back through history. That's never happened. The time that it did I think it was 1886, right before they did the 1887 Electoral Act, that it was this crazy.
Yeah. Well, I think that there seems as though a potential for manipulation on both sides, but I think it still doesn't make a lot of sense to have someone on a political candidate side being the one that makes those final decisions if it's in their best interest. Like, it should be a non-partisan, non-conflicted.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you look at this one date, yes, that would be a lot. But there's been a lot of dates along the way that had some safe gaps. So there's safe gaps in the states because the states have their own rules and laws for casting and doing votes. The problem is it's these 7 states where people broke those.
How's it going, Courtney? It's good to see you. I hope you're doing good.
It's in these states that people broke their own constitutional laws.
Okay.
And so that's where it gets. So there are all these safeguards. The problem is we've gotten all the way to this one, and so people are focused on this one, going, "Why would you give this one person this much power?" It's like, well, we don't, unless we've broken past a lot of safeguards.
But that's the thing, though. Like, you give that person a lot of power at a really crucial potential crux of a moment,
it's happened
which
before.
Seems like it would be really important to have a non-biased individual on that side.
Well, and see, that's what Cruz makes the argument for.
Okay, so let's talk about Cruz. What's the situation with Cruz?
So this Cruz thing is...
You just have a spider like right in front of your face that keeps bugging me. There you go. You got it.
Got it. Okay. So Cruz, what he's asking for is an electoral commission, which is they've been trying to get for years. He said, I want it to be a bipartisan, 5 members of an electoral commission that meets for any election and goes through any fraud that's brought forth and investigates, has all the power to do that, has all the power. We want him to go through forensics of the machines because we should be doing that anyway.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
And we should be doing hand counts, and we should have people looking at the paper. Like, there was this guy that recently in Georgia, it was just this week, he at a Senate hearing, he got back up after he had testified. He's a computer guy. He got back up and a lawyer came up because, can he come talk for 2 minutes? I said, we'll give him 2 minutes. He came back and he goes, I just want to let you know that I have a team of guys working right now and they have hacked into your current machines doing your votes right now. And
into what machines?
Into the vote machines in Georgia. And he
machines.
goes, so the
vote machines that people are not voting on currently.
No, they are.
Why are they voting on it currently?
Because they're having the Senate runoffs in Georgia.
Oh, so this was not on the weekend. This was last week.
This was it was on Friday, I think it was.
Okay.
So he gets up and he says, we broke into it. And they were like, wait, what? And he goes, yeah, your machines that aren't legally supposed to be online are online right now. We connected to them and we can see the traffic going to and from China. And he showed evidence. He came on live. He did a live Facebook video the next day and showed it.
This was in what, a Senate hearing?
This is a Senate hearing. And he came on and he goes, here's how we got in. And he didn't give a lot of detail and someone asked him why, and he goes, it's because we continue.
For those of you that have been asking,
this cup.
I actually don't know where I got it. It's a cool cup.
Who's asking about the cup?
But no, it's actually what's in the cup.
He thinks
Haley,
it's milk.
It's not milk, actually. For those of you that kind of know how tough of a dude I am, I'm pretty tough. It's actually Sleepy Time tea.
Oh my gosh, that's like one of Michael's favorites.
Michael, it's the best. Sleepy Time tea. Yeah, I was gonna get a little crazy and put some chai tea in here for caffeine.
Oh, crazy!
But it was after it was 7 o'clock. I was like, ooh, if I put some caffeine in this tea, it's gonna be a late night. So I'm just stick with the Sleepy Time. So anybody that was really dying to know, it's Sleepy Time.
Yeah. Oh, so anyway,
I agree though. That's a committee
But this guy hacked through. No joke.
Sense.
Through the smart TVs, and they connected through the Wi-Fi to the machines, which they said. Dominion said in a Senate hearing under oath, they said, our machines don't have Wi-Fi. He goes, I don't know what to tell you. I'm right now, my guys are in and they're watching the data and the information right now. And it's going between China and you as fast as it can through a smart TV in the room.
That sounds suspicious.
It's not, because they showed it. They showed the evidence. He came out the next day and showed the network evidence of them doing it. And someone said, can you tell us more? And he goes, I'm not going to give away exactly how we got in because I'm still continuing to investigate and we are continuing to build a case. And he was doing it the next day. And someone else, so it had seen suspect, but someone else, which was one of Sidney Powell's data guys, who's actually an independent guy doing his own research. He's the guy that owns Overstock.com, or did. He started at Patrick Byrne. His group of guys had gotten into the machines through a thermostat in the room, a smart thermostat that had Wi-Fi. So because they're all in the same network, they're using vulnerabilities through the thermostat that's connected to the same network into the voting machines.
Bro,
So their Wi-Fi
crazy
is not
skills.
off and it is on. And that's what's crazy. It's like, if that's going on, anyone should want to know. Anyone should want to know.
So, is that a pretty common practice thing to be able to hack into somebody's Wi-Fi and then hack into somebody else's?
I have to be honest. I've heard of it. I'm not that smart. I don't know. I just know it's possible because anything that's on any network can be used as a vulnerability to gain access to something
So you just have to
else.
know the Wi-Fi code, essentially, for that situation. And then be able to...
It's not even that simple. It's insane. He showed a little bit of it and I was like my head was blowing up. I was like, I get it logically how you're doing this. No idea how you're pulling it off, but they're doing it. And he's come out even today. Someone asked him, he's like, hey, look, here's the deal. I'm not revealing it all. I'm still doing investigation. And yes, we're still connected right now. And so they asked him, like, isn't that illegal? He goes, there's ethical hacking and there's unethical hacking. We are not touching anything. We are only watching data for security reasons.
Yeah, there's like, what are they called? Yeah, ethical
White
hackers.
hats.
White hats. Yes, that's what it was. Dude, speaking of white hats or white hair, Mitch McConnell this year... Dude, that guy has been going through a ton this past few weeks.
Spray painted doors.
I'm not a fan of the dude personally, but whatever. Everybody.
He and Pelosi got their doors spray painted.
Each their own. Yeah, poor guy and poor lady got their houses spray painted. But the other kind of funny
I had a theory
thing,
she died like a few years ago. She's on autopilot. There's no way. She looks not great.
kind of a crazy thing that's going on with Mitch Mann was Venmo, of course. The most his Venmo account got like basically barraged by thousands and thousands of Venmo requests.
Oh, for $2,000.
For $2,000
Yeah,
because
I heard about
basically,
that.
he was the count.
I heard
the
that his
vote
page on
that
Facebook
prevented it.
got it as well. Like,
Yeah, I'm sure it did. But I just thought how funny that was. Like people like specifically like kind of that jab of like, hey, you stopped us from getting $2,000.
Well, okay, so I will talk about that a little bit. I'm not a fan of his at all. To just so you know, to be super duper clear, Pelosi, not a fan of her either. I mean, she flat out came out and said, "Yeah,
but her and Trump are allies now."
Kind of, yeah, from last week, just on that one thing.
Yeah.
So, but she even said, "I held it up before the election." She said that she held it up. So this time, when Mitch held it up, I think he was trying to get back in the good graces of the president by saying, "I'll hold it up for a clean bill of just $2,000." So he was voting against the $2,000 that kept the pork. And he wanted to present a clean bill of $2,000 for everybody and a repeal of Section 230. So that's what he was trying to do. So it wasn't necessarily bad timing for certain. They all should have just had a clean $2,000 bill from the beginning and then done the others separate. But it's again, I'm not a fan of either one of them. I don't think either one of them went about it right. And then I don't think it's right that people spray painted their doors. I do find it a little bit comical.
I think the Venmo thing is just.
But
freaking
also,
hilarious.
if you go look at the pictures, and you should go look at them, and anyone else can too.
Yeah.
So the pictures of
What's it say? What do they say?
Pelosi's store. It doesn't matter what it says. I just want to point something out that somebody pointed out as well. Is that on her door specifically, not on Mitch's, they masked off and didn't spray paint her bricks.
Or what?
The bricks on the side of her house. Bricks would be harder to clean. They only did the parts that could be repainted. So if you look, it actually sprays and stops. It's like somebody put a board there and didn't hit the bricks on purpose.
Well, I doubt.
No,
maybe,
I mean
but
it's like a straight line. It is. It's
unless she had something on those bricks, like something like holiday decorations or something.
no. I've seen it's just red brick. But it look no joke.
You think somebody spray painting is that conscientious to be like, I don't want to hit their bricks?
It's on both sides.
Do they live next to each other?
No. It's on both sides of her garage, and both of them. It's like a circle, and the circle just stops and goes straight line down the side of the garage border, and then back into
They're
a
like,
circle.
hey, I want to terrorize you, but not enough to terrorize your bricks.
Well,
I'm just going to terrorize just a little bit.
I'm not saying that's what they were doing. I'm just saying it looks really weird and intentional.
Okay. Yeah, that is funny. That is weird, though. I don't know why that would happen.
It's bizarre if not. That's what I say. I don't know the answers, but I can just say what looks weird these days. That looks weird. Like when things like that happen, that looks weird.
And that's something I really have been valuing is being able to admit when no matter what the situation, the political preference, the the controversy, being able to admit when something is weird or
Yeah.
something seems suspicious or
Yeah.
something seems off. Because no matter what your leaning is, I would really value, and I really value in myself that I've been learning to do that more, but when other people have been practicing that as well.
Right. And I do, I mean, I have an opinion on it. I think it's not like super hidden.
Yeah, it's
People
totally
probably
okay to
can
have
hear my
opinions.
opinion, but I can at least back up to the fact that it's like, okay, here, look at this. Just tell me that's not strange. Like, wouldn't you want to know the truth? I mean, if the roles were reversed and it looked like, to me at least, that Trump was altering machines, and I'm not saying Biden is. I'm just saying it looked like anybody was doing it in Trump's favor. I would want to know the truth too, because it's still the death of our republic. Because we can't put confidence in our vote, and if we can't put confidence in our vote, that's the one thing in this country that makes us all the same, is that all of us get one vote, and it's all worth the same amount.
So
Do we have another comment?
no,
Oh, okay.
But I'm reading about this. There was an article. Dang, I had it, but I forgot to put it on here. I don't know if I was hoping maybe you had read about it. There was a
What?
new kind of changing topics a little
Go
bit
for
here,
it.
guys. But there has been an overwhelming amount of alien information that has been leaked this year,
Oh, I
and
would love it.
suspicious evidence. Government officials from
Yeah.
the Israeli government officials actually recently came out with a retired Israeli government official came out.
My kids were watching
US
where Mr.
government-
Beast went and hung out by Area 51. Maybe that was it. Maybe it was just him.
Maybe he was like, somehow with his billions of dollars,
I don't know how
funding
that
some
dude
type
gives
of
away that
alien
much
research.
money. I don't know if you watch some of his videos. It's like,
He gives away money
this
all
time
the time.
I'm going to give away $1 million.
Yeah, all his videos are, I'm just going to give away money,
You can
basically.
spend $1 million and do it in 4 minutes.
I'm going to light off 6,000 fireworks for
Yeah.
$700,000.
I'm going to give away 40 cars, or I'll give you a Tesla if you can give away 39 cars.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what?
Just a super random
That's
stuff.
like, he set up a burger joint
making money, though, dude,
recently,
apparently.
and just gave away free food, and he got shut down.
No. He was giving away money with free food. So every
gosh.
time you got a burger,
You got
You got-
paid for it.
it was he paid you to take the food.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It was hilarious, but the lines, it was like
Oh no, it was
line
miles.
Miles.
He had to
and
shut it
miles.
down. He had to tweet out and say, "Guys, stop lining
The
up."
highways were freeways, interstates were getting
We're
backed up.
done. We're not gonna.
Mr. Beast, you guys need to check him out, Mr. Beast.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
We're giving him credit. I don't know why.
Yeah,
But
what's because hopefully he'll give us credit.
Hopefully he'll give
That
us
would be
credit,
amazing.
maybe.
Give us some money.
Dude, another really crazy kind of social platform thing that's going on right now. I've talked to you a little bit about this, and I don't know how much you.
Gab, Parlor,
No.
MeWe.
Nope.
Oh,
Keep going.
Something different.
Yeah.
What is it? Am I on the right track?
Kind of starts with an O. Anybody out there? Have you guys
Outlook.
Outlook? Super close. Have you guys checked out October? Have any of you out there checked out the Omegle
No.
Omegle
I've heard of
website?
it, though.
Omegle. It's fascinating. Actually,
Oh, is this the talk to random people
yeah.
app? Oh
okay.
my gosh.
So I was kind of hoping that we could somehow integrate it so we could show it on our big TV, and then we would have to set through our. Actually, we might be able to do this at some point.
Maybe.
Like through our camera, they'd be able to see us, and then we could see them projected up higher.
Oh, maybe.
So on Omegle,
Seems a little
basically,
scary.
it's fascinating, guys. So there's a couple different ways you can do it. You just log on to Omegle.com, and then you say
This sounds like chat roulette. Do you
It
remember?
is, yeah, exactly.
Do you remember chat roulette?
It's very similar.
It
to
turned
chat
out being
roulette.
a lot of perverted guys that you just like they'd be naked.
Well, it's not yet to that point,
okay,
but it could be. So there's you basically
you're hoping.
You're hoping.
You're like
So
no.
you start a chat, you just go start basically,
Yeah.
and then it just puts a random person in front of you, right? But then there's other things where you can have like a topic,
Yeah.
and then you can say, answer this question, and then you watch two people discuss the question. And so you can start a chat where you have the question, and then it populates two people in the group to look at that question and then debate it
What?
or discuss
Can
it.
you talk to them?
No, you're a silent observer. Yeah.
So they can't tell who you are.
No, They can't
That's
tell who
weird.
you are.
I don't like that.
Um,
I'm a little freaked out. I
well,
feel like
but you
this
can
is
go
China.
either way.
China's doing it.
Could be.
They're
Could
turning
be.
they're turning frogs gay.
But the amount of maybe like a really wild like social study, research program or
Yeah.
something like that. But it's kind of a fun little thing to do. But I was thinking it'd be fun on one of our podcasts to have somebody pop up and we could be like, hey, you're on the podcast, and discuss a random topic with them, or like just go on to something. It could be pretty fun.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if
So,
I like, we'd have to be like pre-recorded just in case something bad happens. So we don't get like deleted off anything.
Yeah, that could happen.
Oof.
It's
really hot in here.
Let's see. Let's see. My cousin was saying that some type of radio transmission was discovered in December.
That's
some
your
type of
cousin?
abnormal radio
That's good to
transmission. Oh, that's my aunt was telling me that my cousin was saying that.
Oh.
Or I
okay.
guess it'd be my second cousin.
Twice
No.
removed.
No, it'd be my cousin. Yeah.
I like how you don't know who your cousins are.
Well, time gets confusing.
So
I have one more thing to hit on.
Well,
But if you got one more thing to hit on.
no, I have just something to give you.
Oh, my God. Okay, let me hit on something real quick, guys, okay? Just real quick thing I want to...
You don't want it first?
Okay. Well...
You do.
Okay.
You
give
do,
me.
you do,
I
you
want
do.
to see it, yeah.
So I was supposed to get this for Christmas, but it came a little late.
Okay. Ooh, I'm excited.
I know. You should be. You should be really excited. Or you're also going to laugh.
Oh,
And
And
well,
cry? Maybe I'm going to cry, too.
Well,
You're going to laugh, you're going to cry.
part of it might be you're like, I don't know if I could wear that everywhere.
Oh, is it a kilt?
I hope. No.
You hope. Okay.
What did you say about kilts? Like people should wear kilts the other day.
We were talking about like medical wear or like clothing.
Oh yeah, I
And-
said it was weird
and
how
I-
nurses landed on that clothing. I
and I
never
said
got
that,
it.
well, we should just all wear kilts.
It's just like if you all had a choice to land on
Surgery
something
and kilts.
and you landed on bed sheets made into clothing.
Yeah.
like that seems weird to me. But okay, hang on.
Okay. Drum roll. What could it be? Oh, dude.
But look at the arm. Look where it's from.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I love the first part of it. The first part of it
That's
is
the joke.
amazing. Space Force, which is just like so cool. So cool. But Jordan's kind of poking me a little bit.
I
here.
am. I'm poking the bear.
The sleeve has InfoWars on it, which is like some would associate with the extreme right website, basically. And Jordan and I kind of bicker and banter back and forth.
It is like was like one of the most entertaining Joe Rogan episodes. of all time.
But I freaking love the Space Force, dude. That's so cool.
And we can kind of match.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
See?
Because you have NASA. Oh, you got Space Force too.
Yeah, but mine's camo.
Yeah, dude. Boom, bro. I love it. Thanks, man. Very cool. I might just, I might like marker over InfoWars. Might put a little black
Nobody
marker
will know
over
what
that.
that is.
Dude, this is dope though, man. I love Space Force.
But it's a rainbow.
I
That
can't
actually
believe-
threw me off.
I can't believe Space Force is
I got it
really
because it
going
had a
on right
rainbow
now.
on it for you.
Reading Rainbow. That's my
It's true.
jam, man.
LeVar
Reading
Burton.
Rainbow. Reading Rainbow. They should bring that back, by the way.
Always weirded me out to watch Star Trek The Next Generation with LeVar Burton on it as Geordie LaForge. And then watch him on Reading Rainbow and his eyes weren't white.
Yeah. Super trippy.
Trippy.
Amador asked if I have any Hispanic heritage in me because no Hispanics know their cousins.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
he's
Well,
Hispanic, so he can say that.
it's true. Yeah.
So, okay, the one other article I just wanted to throw out there for y'all.
Go.
I have a link to it. A really good meta-analysis that took place between compiled about 350,000 research participants on the potential benefits of vitamin D and for fighting viral and actually bacterial infections. And there was kind of a lot of questions between the NIH, the CDC, and the WHO about the actual benefits.
The band?
Yeah. Hey, we're the monkeys.
That's the
the
Monkees.
What songs did the Who sing?
Who are you?
Is that who? We need to get our own background music so we're not singing. But
It's true.
anyways, so the study actually
He also did Teenage Wasteland.
had a really impressive and kind of surprising finding showing that there was a significant improvement in the prevention of COVID positivity.
Yeah.
So it prevents a viral load potentially to the point where you're not testing positive.
Right.
And decreasing the severity of symptoms when patients actually did test positive. And this was out of a pretty large cohort of 10 larger studies that they did an analysis of. And this is something I really wanted to hit on for, especially in Oregon and South.
It too, like it would make sense from the analysis that was done that it seems to affect people of color.
That's exactly it.
Higher because they have more melanin, so they have less vitamin D, especially in the northern hemisphere.
So that's exactly what we've seen in Oregon. We're having much higher positivity rates among Hispanic population, and unfortunately, they're at a more susceptible level of having lower vitamin D because it's such a rainy area, and having more melanin decreases your body's ability to synthesize and break down and form vitamin D.
And if you're going to take vitamin D, by the way, you should take K as well, like because it helps to absorb the D better.
Yes, yeah. And that's the same thing we were seeing with a lot of African Americans. And in California as well, a disproportionate number of African Americans and Hispanics were getting more sick and testing more frequently positive. So anybody out there that has family members that have more melanin, or if you live in a really cloudy area and you're fair-skinned even, make sure that you're keeping up on your vitamin D levels, because that has been shown to be
pretty regularly
super helpful and effective. And not only with coronavirus, but even with bacterial pneumonia cases, they've shown that it actually has proven to be beneficial. So that's something to kind of keep in the back of your head. It's just a healthy thing, and it helps your
It's also really good
mood
to, like,
health.
Depending on how much you take, which I think you and I have talked about, it's like the recommended amount seems to be way lower than I would ever say people should, especially here in Oregon where we barely get any.
So are you talking about the 4,000
mg or whatever
nanometers or
I use like 5,000 IU. But if you take it, at least it's shown, and a lot of people how good is before you go on a flight.
Oh yeah, well, because you're exposed to a lot.
It's like the week before, kind of doubling up on it, because you can kind of bank it for that time on the flight.
Well, that's most of the big things I wanted to throw out there. Jordan is going to be in Washington, D.C.
We need to talk about that.
Coming in 2 days. He's going to be kind of just because of everything that we previously talked about. He's going to be in the actual the city / district upon where these electoral votes are going to be looked at.
It's going to be right by SCOTUS on Tuesday. And then I think it's called like Ellipse Park or something like that on Wednesday is where like the big everyone's meeting.
Wait, is the 6th Tuesday or Wednesday?
The 5th is Tuesday.
The 5th is Tuesday. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. So the 6th.
But they've added stuff on the 5th starting at 1 p.m. Eastern.
And there's going to be, I'm sure, protests, rallies from both sides of this party.
Yeah, I've never been, but I've heard it. The main spots are pretty decided.
And I am a little bit jealous that Jordan's going to go on this adventure, but I'm really happy he's going on it. Yeah. I had to work the day before and the day after, so I'm not able to swing it. But we are hoping to stream kind of just for a little while at least, kind of hopefully if we get a good enough reception and talk.
We hadn't talked either
about it.
I don't know if I might stream at least just some stuff of the events going on. I may not talk much.
And I might be talking in the background.
But I mean like on the 5th, because I'll be there on the 5th. So I might just tune into our Facebook page if I decide to go live.
Check it out. Test it normal.
You may just see me.
And if it gets crazy, he might. Yeah, hopefully you'll catch it.
Yeah, hopefully you'll catch it. I'm going to be there with Luke, who has been on our show before. He wanted to go,
and your cousin too, right?
My cousin's not going, but we're going to stay with him. So.
Oh no! Is Amador going?
No,
Amador,
not.
Bro. Sorry, man.
Out.
That's okay.
That's fine.
Sorry, Amador.
I was really disappointed. It would have been really fun if he could come.
Yeah,
he actually was there. I think staying with the same relative when Trump did his acceptance speech in 2016.
Oh, that's cool. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to hit you with some shower thoughts, and we're going to hit you with some TILs. Today I learned. So I'll go first.
Go.
My first, today I learned.
Till.
This is interesting to me. The white dashed lines on U.S. highways, I had no idea how long they actually are.
They're pretty long.
They're 10 feet long.
That makes sense.
The white dashed lines are 10 feet long. And the space between them, on average, is 30 feet long.
Okay.
But they did kind of like a random, I was reading about, majority of people think they're about 2 to 4 feet long at most.
No, but I only know because I've walked next to them. Like it's
I had no idea they were 10 feet
Yeah.
long. That's surprising. I mean, it makes sense. So if you're driving super fast, it would seem like they're shorter distance, I guess.
yeah. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
telephone poles look a lot closer together when you go 100. Not that I've ever done that. Today I learned Burger King has the rights to use its name throughout the entire United States, with the exception of a 20-mile radius surrounding a totally unrelated restaurant, also called Burger King,
Wow.
in Mattoon, Illinois.
Ooh, that's a great TIL. This TIL is I think a healthy way of people managing their conflict. Today I learned that some Inuit groups used ridicule in the form of song duels as a mean of conflict resolution.
What?
So two men who had failed to resolve a conflict by other means would secretly compose derisive songs about their adversary. Then the whole camp would gather together in a large igloo to observe the song duel.
So they rap battled.
It's a rap battle, dude. It's like Grease. It's like Grease, basically.
That's so weird. Okay. Today I learned that paper books still outsell ebooks by a huge margin, even among young people.
Really?
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. I would
Yeah.
much rather read a paper book
I'm
than
actually
ebook.
kind of glad it's still that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels nostalgic. All right, I only had 2 TILs.
I only had 2.
Okay, perfect. All right, shower thought. I got 4.
Okay. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. You could steal one of mine.
Okay.
And then we're
If your
even.
parents love you, if the parents love you
It's always a good start.
and your siblings equally, but you are the lightest in weight, then pound for pound, you are your parents' favorite child.
Wait, say it again.
If your parents I love you number 50, I love you number 50, but pound for pound, you're the lightest, or if you weigh the lightest, then pound for pound, they love you the most. It's kind of a MMA thing.
Is it?
Like pound for pound, Mighty Mouse is the best.
No, I
fighter,
know.
you
It's
pound
just
for
like,
pound.
I guess you're equating mass with value.
Yes, but also value with mass.
The same thing.
I know.
A squared plus B squared equals. Wait, no. A
Well, you
plus-
gotta do-
A plus B equals
You're
B
totally
equals-
forgetting the tangent, anyways.
Yeah. Medusa would always lose a staring contest.
Or would she win it?
No. Because she would stare at someone.
Yeah.
And they would turn to stone and never blink.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's a good point. We often put a lot of trust in our butthole's ability to tell the difference between a solid, a liquid, and a gas. That's a lot of faith. And that's a very sensitive piece of tissue.
Or plasma.
Plasma. I don't think it's plasma. I don't think it's plasma.
Yeah. Is always a saying a friend of mine would quote was like, everyone, whether they admit it or not, has bet on a fart and lost.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe the reason that female serial killers seem to be a rarity is because they're so much better at it than men.
Yeah. Maybe. Oh my gosh, it's terrifying.
I know. That's kind of my thought when I read it. I was
Whoa.
like, oh no.
Wild. I was sitting in my living room and I thought about this earlier today when I was watching this video about a lady that got a nose job.
Yeah.
And maybe you could answer this, but with because I'm sure this is a relevant topic for you.
I'm sure that's a subtle dig coming
But-
up.
So no dig. With facial recognition on iPhones,
Oh yeah.
can a person that gets a nose job still unlock their phone?
It would have to be a percentage that changed. So I don't know. It would depend on the nose job.
So then, let's say they get locked out of the phone. Then how do they get their phone unlocked? Can they still do a code?
yeah.
Oh, okay. See, I don't have the fancy iPhone 12. I still got the 8s. You know.
Yeah,
so
but
I
that's
don't know.
that's on Android too. I mean, it's just like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it would depend on the because your face
And then
changes
you could reset it.
a
Like
little
you
bit,
could have it rescan.
but
your
it goes
face.
off of like key points. So something would have to change. If your nose job is minor, probably wouldn't matter.
But then you can always just rescan your face.
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
yeah. If you restart your
So
phone,
anybody out there that's nervous, like, should I get the nose job? Should I not get the nose job?
well,
Get the
I
nose
mean,
job.
well,
Get
if
it.
you
It's worth-
restart,
your iPhone will work.
like if I restart my phone, I have to log in with a code. I can't do it with my face,
Okay,
just like the fingerprint.
gotcha.
That way, it's safe from the FBI.
All right. Makes sense.
Many people have tried to make imitation meat from vegetables, but no one has bothered to make imitation vegetables from meat.
Yeah, that's true. I was thinking about like dog food. Like sometimes like they use dog food and there's meat in it and it kind of looks like a vegetable, but
No.
Not really a
That's
what type of vegetable? Like a bean? I don't know. Probably not. Probably not.
no.
No. Okay.
Plus, that's ducks and like consumable human food.
Ancient Egypt slaves that built the pyramids should be considered the first victims of pyramid schemes.
It's true. Super true. And it's truly a pyramid scheme.
Truly
There's
a
someone
pyramid
at the
scheme.
top, and they are all smashed on the bottom.
Yep.
Lots of people are allergic to cats and dogs, and we know that because cats and dogs are prevalent in our society. But for all we know, allergies to exotic animals like pandas and chimpanzees are much more common.
Ooh. Yeah. Interesting. Huh. If our skin was transparent, we'd probably take care of our health better. That's true. Also, if there was no such thing as clothing, we would probably take care of our health better as well. But also, you might want a little bit more adipose on the outside to keep you warm.
True. Like Jabba the Hutt.
Interesting. Okay, last one. Hit it.
While the guy that feared the world would end in 2012, it may just be crazy. There's a chance he was dyslexic.
That's true. Could be. Well, with that note, ladies and gentlemen,
2021.
2021 coming in hot. Guys, we hope you have a fantastic year. We're excited to share it with you and share comments and thoughts and crazy situations. So, Jordan,
gonna be
thanks
fun.
again, bro. Appreciate my
DC.
rainbow shirt.
Guys, watch for live videos.
Yep.
It may just
5th
be me.
And or the
Or maybe
6th.
I'll bring Luke in
We'll
as
see.
a guest. We'll see.
Time will tell.
And we're going to get some pictures and see what's going on there. It should be fun. Should be
All right,
a fun
guys. Peace out. Have a fantastic week, and we will talk to you soon.
trip. See you guys.
Peace out.